How are you guys doing today? Today, I want to give you guys the FICO score point breakdown. The reason why this is very vital is depending on where you're at in your credit journey, if you're looking at going up 150 points, 200 points, 50 points, whatever the circumstance is, by understanding the FICO score point breakdown, it will best help you to get to where you need to be. So, if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share the videos. Thank each and every one of you guys who have done that. Secondly, get yourself a pen and paper. There's a lot of great information here that can help you on your credit journey to take you from where you are to get you to where you want to be. And by understanding these numbers, it can change your life concerning credit. My name is Jay, and welcome to Ask a Debt Collector, a subsidiary of Clear and Strategic. Now, I've been in the debt collection industry for over 15 years. I've done it all, from management to owning 2 debt collection companies. Over the last 10 years, I've been the go-to guy for friends and family for questions regarding debt and credit. Now I want to be that person for you. It's very, very important to understand the actual scale when it comes to your FICO score. We're going to be talking FICO score here. Now, let me say this before we get into the FICO score situation. A lot of people ask my opinion about Vantage Score. This is what I have to say with regards to that. They're brand new, they're a new company, and they're coming. And as time progresses, more and more creditors, I believe, in my opinion, will start using Vantage Score. But today, we're going to talk about FICO score. So, ultimately, as you can see right here, your FICO score goes from a 300 being very poor all the way to an 850, right? 850 being excellent credit. Now, in between going from a 300 to a 500 FICO score, there is a total number here. Now, this total number that I'm talking about is simple. It's 550 points. Now, if you look at it from 300 to 850, there's 550 points with regards in order to get that. So, if you have bad score, then that 550 points, obviously you're not getting anything from that at 300. And at 850, you are maximizing the 550 points that are available with regards to improving your credit. Now, those 550 points that I'm talking about that mean so much when it comes to your FICO score, and understanding this is very key. This is the thing. There are 5 important factors which determine that 550 points totally that you have up here with regards to your credit. They're broken up into 5 segments, and we're going to break down each and every one of those segments. The first segment that you need to pay attention to understand is the biggest piece of the 5 segments and the biggest piece of the pie. That segment that I'm talking about is your payment history. Your payment history represents 35% of your FICO score. Now, the key thing, and a lot of people understand 35%, but 35% of that 550 points, and the maximized amount that you can get is 192.5 points with your payment history. Now, how do you maximize? We're going to talk about on each one of these segments how to maximize and then how you lose the points. So, with your payment history, how to maximize it is by making payments on time each month. Not when you want to pay it, but when the due date is due for your account. Whether it's a revolving account or an installment account, your payment history matters. And in order to maximize on your payment history, it's simple. You just got to make your payments every single month on time. Now, let's get into how you can lose with regards to your payment history. Late payments. I always talk about it. Late payments. One late payment has the ability to drop you from 50 to 100 points. So of that maximized amount of the 192.5 points that you can get by making sure you pay on time, as you have late payments, that maximize amount of 192.5 points will start to become deducted. And as it's deducted, it will hurt your credit in general. And you can't maximize with regards to that. So late payments, and then obviously having collection or derogatory accounts. So typically it always starts out with late payments. You'll get a 30-day late, you'll get a 60-day late, a 90-day late, a 120-day late. And then eventually the account is sent to collections. So on this account, not only will you have the late payments if you're not paying that trade line, it can be sent to collections. And once that happens, that is catastrophic to your credit profile. And it can drop your FICO score a lot of points. So understand your payment history, which is 35% of that pie, you get up to 192.5 points by just paying on time. That's all you have to do. On the payment due date, pay on time. If your credit score is in the 4s, the 5s, or 6s, down below is a free 20-minute consultation with me. Let's first see if we're fit. Let's see if what the ideas and the stuff that I have or work with, what your goals are, right? I'm a big advocate on listening and hearing what it is that you're trying to do, because the reality is the timing with regards to everything that's happening, depending on what's on your credit profile, matters. And I'm an expert with regards to helping you in that aspect. Now, the second part of the pie, which is the next biggest part of the pie, is your credit utilization. Your credit utilization. By definition, it's the amount of revolving credit you're using divided by the total credit available to you. So, as you can see, it's 30% of the 550 points. And to break it down into point sections so that you understand, the maximized amount of points that you get with your credit utilization is 165 points, right? And so understand something. How do you maximize it? By keeping a low balance on your revolving accounts. All of those accounts at least under 10%, right? So what is a revolving account? That's an account that you have that actually has a balance, let's say of $1,000, like a credit card. If you used up $500 and you paid that $500 off, you still have that $1,000 as long as you keep that account up. 30%, 165 points, is represented by your credit utilization. So to make it very easy, one of the models that I have here, if you have balances on your credit cards, pay them down to 0. And that is very key. But for those of you who can't keep it down to 0 utilization, I know some of you guys have balances on your credit cards. Whatever that utilization is, you want to get it down to 30%. So if you had a $1,000 credit card, you want to have no more than a $300 balance. But in order to maximize with 165 points that we talk about here, you want to get it under 10%, which means with a $1,000 balance, you don't want to have reported more than a balance higher than $100. And then for those of you who want to maximize 165 points to its entirety, what I have seen work is by keeping a 0 balance with regards to that. Now, another way to maximize that utilization is understanding something simple. The difference between your payment due date and the statement date. Your payment due date is the date in which your credit card is due on a revolving account, right? It may say that it's due on the 23rd. The statement due date is the date that's very, very important, because that's the date that the creditor, let's say for instance you had a Capital One credit card, whatever balance is on that statement due date is when they're going to report it to the credit bureaus. And that's the most important date, because that's what's going to reflect on your credit every single 30 days when they're reporting on your credit profile. And so by understanding the statement date, you can pay it down to a 0 balance, and that's what they're going to report versus paying it on the payment due date. Now, how you find that typically on your actual statements that you get in the mail, it should have a statement date and a payment due date. You look at the statement date, just make sure you pay at that time span. Another thing you can do is call up the creditor directly. And how to lose out on your credit utilization, which is 165 points, is by maxing out your credit cards. A lot of times I get clients who will come to me, I'll look at their credit profile, they're like in the 650, 680, and they're saying, I don't know how to get over to the 700 club. And one of the things that I notice is that your credit cards are maxed out. My father-in-law is a prime example of that. When he came, he had probably like a 650 credit score. His credit history was good. He didn't have any collection accounts. The problem was his credit utilization was maxed out. So he may have been only using about 65 of the 165 total points that you get with regards to that. He paid down his credit cards. He went from a 650 to like a 780 FICO score, and he couldn't believe it. Your credit utilization, if you keep it down to a minimum, my motto is use your credit cards like debit cards, so you only spend what you have in the bank. But if you do have a balance, try and keep it under 10% if you want to maximize on the 165 points. The next part of the pie, and the third part, is your credit age. It represents 15% of that 550 points. That's why the max amount of points that you can get for this is 82.5 points. Credit age is your average time your credit accounts have been opened up, right? How do you maximize on your credit age? Keeping accounts open as long as possible, right? That's one of the main things. If you start off with an account, one of the things that happens a lot of times, I've had clients, and even myself with a credit card that I made a mistake on, is it was my first credit card. I opened it up. They opened the balance. I ended up maxing it out. And it took me forever to pay it off. Once I paid it off, because I didn't have the self-discipline, I said, you know what? I'm closing this account out, which is what I thought was a great thing to do. Old accounts, credit card accounts, revolving accounts that you've had for a long time, you don't want to get rid of them. If you want to maximize on the 82.5 points, you got to keep these accounts open. The older, the better, with obviously good payment history. Another thing that you can do with regards to maximizing that is an authorized user account. Obviously, you have to find an individual who's had an account 5 years plus. With regards to the credit history, they haven't had any late payments, and the account is not maxed out. That way, you as an authorized user can piggyback off of that credit history as a positive trade line, and it can help with your credit age. So that's way you can maximize the 82.5 points that you have. The fourth thing that you need to understand when it comes to your FICO score and maximizing the full potential of the 550 points available to you is your credit mix. Your credit mix represents 10% of the 550 points. And obviously 10% of 550 points is 55 points, right? So what is credit mix? It's the types of different credit accounts or trade lines that you have on your credit. Revolving, installment, right? So with revolving accounts, you have things called credit cards, right? And with a revolving account with a credit card, like I stated before, another revolving account are credit lines. Sometimes banks, depending on how good your credit is, you can get a credit line from them for $1,000. And every time you use, you only pay on interest on the amount that you actually use. But once you pay it back off, you still have that available credit line. The second credit mix that you have in there is installment accounts. One of the biggest installment accounts that people understand a lot are car balances, right? If you finance a car, you're going to have installment loans. So you may finance 10 grand, the payment may be $200 a month for an allotted time. Typically with installment accounts, they have an end date. So you can pay it for 3, 4, 5 years depending on your contract, and at the end of it, it's done. But creditors like to see a variety, and to maximize on the 55 points, they don't want to just see one thing. They want to see a mixture of everything. They want to see you as a consumer, how you handle different types of loans. So it's key to have a good credit mix. And the last thing on your credit profile that they look at that matters, and it represents another 10% of your FICO score, and that is inquiries, right? What are inquiries? Inquiries are when you apply for credit. It's considered what we call a hard pull on your credit. And so in order for a creditor to vet you as a consumer to see if you're trustworthy, you get an inquiry on your credit account. Now, how to maximize? Only have 2 inquiries every 2 years, right? Everyone knows when you're pulling your credit, Every time a creditor pulls your credit as a hard pull, your FICO score will drop 5 to 10 points every time that they do that. Now understand, as long as you're making your payments within 2 to 6 months, you'll get those points back up. But how you can abuse it is by constantly pulling your credit. When I was younger in my credit journey, when I was starting out, I had no idea about my credit score or anything along those lines. The companies will send you invitations with regards to signing up for credit, saying that you can possibly be pre-approved, or just sending you advertisement with regards to credit cards. I remember getting a couple of them, filling them all out. Every time I applied for the credit, I remember getting not approved because my credit score was very low and I got a ding against it. So not only was my credit score low, but as I was getting the inquiries and applying for these credit cards, I kept getting declined and it was just dropping my score more. When creditors look at your credit profile, one of the things that they look at, which represents 55 points, is inquiries. And typically, if you have a bunch of inquiries, 4 or 5 at a time, and they have the date in which those inquiries happen, then creditors could look at you as risky. Like, why is this guy applying for a bunch of credit? The reality is you might just want a credit card. They don't know that. Another way that really kills you, and I get a lot of clients that happen, when you have poor credit and you go apply for a car, right? And when you sign that contract, with regards to them pulling your credit, they're going to pull your credit 10, 15, I've even seen 25 times because they're shopping around deals to try and get you approved for the loan. But typically, as a rule of thumb, you don't want to have more than 2 inquiries in 2 years. Inquiries stay on your credit profile for 2 years. So after 2 years, they typically fall off with regards to that. And so if you can keep it down to 2 per 2 years, that'll be awesome. But obviously, sometimes you may have 2 or 3 things that you may have to apply for, but just understand, wait that time span with regards to applying for the next thing. Not only will it hurt your credit with a hard pull, but creditors will look at your credit profile. And if you're applying for a bunch of credit and they're not seeing those trade lines, then chances are they're thinking, okay, there's a reason why these people are declining you, and they may fall in suit based on your credit profile. Now, this is your credit score, 550 points. The reason why I wanted to actually give you the FICO score breakdown is because when you understand these numbers, if you're needing to do something with regards to getting your scores up, something as simple as 100 points, 200 points, you got to understand there are simple things that you can do in order to maximize those points. So when you look at your credit profile, depending on where it is and what's going on, for those of you who are in the high 6s and can't get into the 700 club, chances are your utilization is high, you pay it down, that can jump you up 100 points. And all of those 5 factors matter when it comes to your FICO score. And by maximizing that, will put you in the driver's seat to where you can control your life. Now, be on the lookout. I have a new digital online program coming out. It's teaching you how to settle out your accounts. That's coming pretty soon. And if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. And as I always state, you be great. See you guys next time.